Okay. Add to the stage. Shalom, shalom. Add to the stage. Shalom, shalom. Add to the stage. Shalom, shalom. All right, this is from the book of Habakkuk 2 and verse 16. You will be filled with disgrace instead of honor. Now drink and expose your own nakedness, the cup of wrath. And the Lord's hand will come around to you, O destroyer, and utter disgrace will be on your own glory. All right. And I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kodash. All right. I want to give double honors unto the apostles, and that was a great millstone where I learned this truth from. And I want to say peace, mercy, and blessings unto all the hopeful elect. All right. The name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh, which means he exists, or he is to be. The name of the Son is Yahweh Shai, which means he is the deliverer. All right, now this lesson is going to be on this video that was uploaded by the Hopeful Elect 3. And as you can see, the title is Bye Edomite Babylon. All right, I'm speaking code. But I was watching this video and, the spirit hit me, hey, this is nothing but shameful spewing on Esau's glory. And this is Habakkuk 2 and 16, the Amplified Bible I read. But this is the KJV right here, so I'll read it again. Of Habakkuk 2 and 16, you will be filled with disgrace instead of honor. Now drink and expose your own nakedness, and that's what I titled it, right? The cup of wrath in the Lord's hand will come around to you, O destroyer, and utter grace will be on your own glory. All right, in the name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. All right, we see the Lord in the word or the name Lord in all caps. That name is Yahweh, which means he exists, or he is to be. The name of the Son is Yahweh Shai, which means he delivers. That's what the world ignorantly calls God and Jesus Christ. So I'm going to play this video and get some precepts. I pray that this be edifying.
Their heads up their asses still. Too many of you still just don't want to accept what this is. So let me give you a history lesson of what this shithole country is. And if you don't like that, then you can ship your ass back to England with your head up your ass because you don't actually want to hear the history of America. So let me tell you what this country is. When we as white people were too lazy to do our own jobs, we stole black people from Africa on the Middle Passage. 1 point.
That was Bible prophecy. Okay, the whole middle passage, right? Let's get that precept. Hey, the scripture says through that precepts, I get understanding. This is Deuteronomy 28. We're going to jump down to verse 68. All right, and it reads, and the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, right, shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. See what? It's talking about our land. All right. And now you do have some Israelites over there, but we ain't seen the land. Okay. It's how, we ain't seeing it again. We've been stuck here in America, especially the 10 tribes. Can't forget about the northern kingdom, right? And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So that's the history of America. All right, let's just look up some images of the Middle Passage. Let's just see. Right, so I just Googled Middle Passage, and I believe, yeah, this is Microsoft Bing as a search engine. But as you can see, the triangular slave trade. The middle passage that's found in the Bible, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. Okay. So that's what he spoke about. So that's why I brought that up, right?
Million died. Sharks would follow the boats, waiting for the bodies. Million died. Then we kept them as fucking animals, beat them, whipped them, put them in trees, fed them to fucking alligators, burnt down their Wall Street.
Yeah, every time Jake tried to build something for themselves, it would surpass what Esau had set up already. You feel me? And then Esau would get jealous and he would destroy it. All right, like the Tulsa, Oklahoma, so-called Black Wall Street. What happened? Esau came in there and destroyed it. But it also goes back to the curses anyway, that we're only going to be oppressed and spoiled here. All right, is that the Lord didn't send us here to get rest. We were sent over here as a punishment. Okay. This is Micah 2 and 10. This is Micah 2 and 10. It says, Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. And America is polluted morally. It's literally polluted, you know, food supply, chemtrails, you know. So we were never going to have rest here, especially not from our oppressor Esau. It says in Wisdom of Solomon, through envy of the devil, death entered into world. So at the end of the day, he has a deep envy for the Israelites, especially the Israelite man. But it really goes back to the birthright, you know.
We put Asians in internment camps. Women couldn't even fucking vote or have rights or credit or no fault divorce until the 80s. 1860s, the Supreme Court said black people weren't even citizens. And part of this country doesn't want to fucking hear that. I'm a patriot. You're a piece of shit, is what you are. You're not a fucking patriot. You're a nationalist. You don't want to actually talk about American history. You want to talk about white history, which is why you don't want slavery in the Smithsonian, because it offends your version of American exceptionalism. We are a shithole country.
Yeah. And Esau starting to realize it. Like a few years ago, Trump, when he was referring to Haiti, he called it a shithole. But come to find out, Babylon's the real shithole. This is actually a third world country. A few months back, when they had the whole TikTok ban, people inside Babylon were getting on another app. That, let's see, they were getting on another app called Red Note, right? When they got on Red Note, the citizens of Babylon found that the people in these other countries were living way better than the people in America. Like, for example, they actually had things like free healthcare, affordable rent, you know, and they were referring to America as a third world country with a Gucci bag. All right, so this is Esau's end. This is Second Ezra 6, and this is I'm reading from the Good News translation, right? Second Ezra 6 and verse 7. Then I answered, How long of a period of time will divide the ages? When will the first age end and the next age begin? He answered, The interval will be no longer than between Abraham and Abraham. He was the grandfather of both Jacob and Esau. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. All right, and that's where you get the Israelites from, the 12 tribes of Israel. And today, they're being called by different bywords and proverbs such as Black, African American, Native, Seminole Indian. But so-called Mexican. Well, we're those people that make up the 12 tribes. And Esau is a self-proclaimed white man. Okay, and it's not about skin color because some of our people can actually look like the guy on the screen. They can actually look like him. Okay, because our people come in many different shades of colors, and the men of our nation, they have lain down with the woman, the Edomite woman, different women of the nations, and had children. A great example of that is the Blake Griffin. You know, this is Second Ezra 6 and verse 8. Good News Translation. He answered, the interval will be no longer than that between Abraham and Abraham. He was the grandfather of both Jacob and Esau, right? And so this is what you have to understand. Abraham also had Ishmael, right? Ishmael was not the chosen, okay? But then, um, but then Isaac also had what? Esau. Esau was not the chosen. So those two nations, they do come from Abraham, and technically Esau is a Hebrew as well, but he's not of the chosen, right? And when they were born, Jacob was holding Esau's heel. So how they came out, that was all symbolic, spiritual, because they were fighting in the womb. That's why Rebecca, she was like, "What's going on?" I thought, you know, this was going to be a blessing, but I'm not getting any rest because she felt them tussling inside of her. You know, Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of the new age. So we're at the end. It's the reason why over there in UK they're issuing out the digital IDs, and you won't be able to work without it. That's nothing but a precursor to the rice device, man.
We're not even the greatest country in North America. And once again, if you don't like it, ship your ass back to England. You
Actually, England don't belong to them as well. England technically that was the land of Japhet, but then Jake took it over during the medieval times, so-called Dark Ages. Really, you would have to go into captivity. You Caucasus Mountains, that hey, the Israelites gonna take that, the land of Edom, we're gonna possess that too, you know.
don't have to announce your departure. Deport yourself. Go back to where you came from because this isn't your fucking land. It belonged to the Native Americans until we shit on it. And then Andrew Jackson, may he rot in hell, made over 300 treaties with the five tribes. And
Exactly,
he ignored all of them through the.
exactly. And that goes with that, with the scriptures, man. You know, this is from the book of Psalms 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. You gotta know that's how this devil comes, man. That's why in the garden he's called in the garden. In the book of Genesis, he's called the serpent, you know? It says, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So he came, made peace treaties, but then he didn't honor any of them. He broke them all. I'll read it again. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So that's how he comes, man. That's why it says, never trust thy enemy.
Trail of Tears, and we forced them to walk, and 16,000 died.
Yeah. And recently I've been, I saw this movie. Well, this is a good movie, by the way. It's spiritual. It got a lot of spiritual jewels, nuggets in it, or whatever. But if you check out this movie, The Long Walk by Stephen King, I'm trying to bring up an image of it. Yeah, this movie right here, The Long Walk, it kind of shows you that. And in the movie, there's a so-called Native American in there, you know, but it's pretty much, they don't. They don't have a destination. They got to walk till there's only one of them left. And that's what Andrew Jackson did to Trail of Tears, you know?
But hey, don't you dare criticize this country, white man. If you don't like it, you can leave. America's the best of the best of the best.
Esau is the basis of men. Okay, that's why you have civilizations such as China surpassing this country for its technology, things of that nature. Which really, you know, China's not more than a, just like a ground zero of what they want to do over here as far as how you said, social credit score, things of that nature. Because that's how it's going to smart cities. Because that's how it's going to be. As people take the Haradma, which is the rice device.
You don't have fucking concepts of brains like you have concepts of what history is. This country has been a shitty country for everybody that doesn't look like me.
For the Israelites, it's been hell. You know, people have caught holy hell since they got on this land. I believe that's in Daniel. This Daniel 9 verse 12. And he had conformed his words which he spake against us, right? And against our judges, this Daniel 9, that judged us by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven had not been done as had been done upon Jerusalem. You're talking about Jim Crow laws, you're talking about Ku Klux Klan, lynchings, the war on drugs, crack in the 80s, Tuskegee experiments. We could go on and on. Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. Okay, how people have been targeted at every level for extermination. You know,
And now what you're seeing with a podcaster, even though 47,000 people died from gun violence, the white people finally got a fraction of an inch of what a black person has dealt with since the fucking beginning of this experiment. And now you guys, oh, the rapture is coming. Oh, put Charlie's name's Kirk on a Starbucks. Oh my God, cancel Starbucks. Oh, this is the great awakening. Jesus is coming. He spoke to me.
but Jesus ain't coming. All right, you people that's worshiping Jesus the Christ, the so-called white man, come as you are. There's not going to be a rapture. Okay, and worse things are going to come to Babylon the Great. Far worse things. All right, just like the brother posted on the beginning of the video. Let's go to that scripture. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, and verse 30. Take a good heart, O Jerusalem. Let's talk about the Israelites. And of course, it starts with the elect, you know, because the Lord will allow to be part of that, For he that gave thee that name will comfort thee, right? And the way the Lord's going to comfort us, he's going to deliver us and set us back in our own land. Have mercy on us. That's how we're going to be comforted. Miserable are they that afflicted thee and rejoiced at thy fall, and that's Esau. All right, because even when you go back to the time of Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians, they were saying, raise it, raise it. So they always wanted to see us fall. They always look for this day, man, when we are cut off from a nation, cut off as a nation. You know, miserable are the cities which thy children serve. And the Israelites served here, Babylon the Great, which is the good old US of A. Miserable is she that received thy sons. Now these people, they're starting to feel how we always felt. Okay. How people has always dealt with, you know, not having a skipping meals, not having food, having to make do with what they have eaten, you know, syrup sandwiches and shit, eggs, going to the ice box, nothing in there, Eviction notices, lights cut up. Our people have been dealing with it, but now Esau's starting to be homeless, begging on the side of the throughway. All right. For as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. Yeah, and that reminds me of that scene in Planet of the Apes, the old one, right? He watched this scene. He was grieved. He found out where he was at. You know, that's pretty much showing you what Babylon has fallen. You know, to sum it up. But in that scene, if you go back and watch it, I don't want to play it for copyright sake and all that. I believe he's lamenting. He's saying, "You did it. You did it." You know, that's how he's going. He saw. That's how they're going to be. They're going to be grieved for their own desolation. You know, 34. For I will take away the rejoicing of a great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. Right? And Most High's going. He's not done yet. The plagues. He just. You know. He's. This is the modern day Egypt, and the Lord is sending modern day plagues. All right. And the plague of all plagues is going to be the nuclear destruction. You know. This second Edges 15 and verse 18. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Right? There's going to be trouble with Egyptian against Egyptian. You know, when Mr. Kirk got popped, you had Esau saying out there, white man fight back. But then they showed you the shooter as a damn white man. Esau got up there on live television and said, I was hoping it wouldn't be one of us, showing you the racist spirit of Esau, you know?
Jesus didn't speak to you after Ahmaud Arbery was chased down by 3 white supremacists?
That's a good point because they put Jesus and Christianity and turn the other cheek and love thy neighbor, but that don't apply if you're not white. They're not applying the scriptures to you, you know?
U.S. citizens, by the way. God didn't speak
And
to
what? And the Christians that came over here, they were practicing the big G word. You know, the same thing that they're doing over there in the Middle East to those Palestinian people. You know, they try to they forced our people into the Catholicism, Christianity, Guadalupe, speaking Spanish. You know,
you then. How about Uvalde when the cops sat on their asses for an hour and watched children just fucking get murdered? God didn't speak to you then? How about 2 weeks before the podcaster? 6-year-olds were gunned down in a church, praying with Bibles and 10 Commandments on the wall. God didn't speak to you then? Oh, all of a sudden you want to weaponize the name of God because your white privilege got shit on. And even when you hear this, your little fucking fragile brains can't even handle the truth.
shameful spewing on that glory. The whole critical race theory is about. This is all about. Esau is being exposed, man. All right, he's being completely exposed. This is why deception's not going to keep working. So he's going to have to come down with great wrath. This is Second Thessalonians 2 and verse 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed. That's why it says in Job, if not, where, who is he? Because if this ain't the devil, this ain't the wicked that's doing all of this, then where is he? He fits the description, you know? And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. And that's by, the apostles, elders, prophets, teachers. But it's also going to be when the Lord comes back in the second coming by the chariots, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him who is coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. You see?
Because you're so fucking racist. That's what this is about. It's not about taxes or tips or making your life better or universal health care or bringing the price of your housing down. They haven't done shit in this Klan administration. Not a goddamn thing, except for sit on his fat ass in golf and rename the Gulf of Mexico and shit on white people. And you're like, yeah, praise Jesus.
Yeah, you Edomites, you thought you was gonna put Trump in there, and you really thought he was gonna make this place great again. Was when was it ever great? That's pretty much what he sums up what he was saying. This country was never great, especially if you were not white. It was built upon bloodshed and murder. All right. This is Jeremiah 51 and verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in their iniquity. That means, because obviously, a large portion of the elect are going to be in Babylon. So it's not saying buy a passport and leave, because the Lord is going to deliver his elect from wherever they're scattered, you know, but saying come out, spirit the ways, right? And be not cut off in their iniquity. That's the nukes, right? Don't align yourself to this place, especially by taking a rights device. For this is a time of the Lord's vengeance. That's why all this has happened. Both sides exposing Esau. The economy is getting ready to collapse. They're getting ready to introduce the rights device. They got troops all over the major cities where Israelites are. UN troops are here. World War III is getting ready to pop off. All right, this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her recompense. He getting ready to pay her back for what she have done to our people. And deep down in Esau's spirit, they know they gotta pay back for what they did unto us, man. Right? And that's their greatest fear. You know, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And now the other nations that were taking the philosophies of, you know, fiat currency, making deals with the whore, they're now mad, you know. Verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. All right, and part of that balm was them putting President Trump in there. He's really Esau like last hoorah. He's got to be the last, captain of the ship, so to speak. Because who the hell else they gonna put up in there? And they would have put Kamala. This should have been a million times worse. All right, verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. It ain't no way to heal it. It ain't coming back. You bring as many jobs you want back. There's no way you can heal it. You're talking about the Golden Dome to stop nuclear threats. That's not going to stop the Lord's judgment. You know, forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reaching unto heaven and is lifted up even unto the skies. You know,
Praise Jesus, yeah, America first. And your dumbasses don't even realize that the US dollar has gone down by 17%.
the U.S. dollar, your dollar ain't worth nothing, man. That's why you don't have the purchasing power as you did pre night pre 2020. And even then, the dollar wasn't really worth nothing. This ain't the Brady Bunch time. You know, you can barely afford the home. You have the working homeless. You have people that work they ass off 60 hours a week, and they're lucky if they live out a car. You know, that's the state of this country.
That all your trade partners are not using us anymore. And then at some point, when the debt is cashed in from Canada and China and Japan, they're going to cash it in and the dollar's going to tank. But at least I own the libs. America first, America first. You don't even take care of America first. 36.8 million people live in poverty. 14 million kids go to school hungry.
That's Esau. You know, going back to Habakkuk. This is Habakkuk. No, that's address. This is Habakkuk 2 and okay, this is the amplified. This is Habakkuk 2 in the amplified. Habakkuk 2 and 5 amplified Bible. Moreover, wine is treacherous and betrays the arrogant man, and that goes into his philosophies, etc. So that he does not stay at home. And his home is supposed to be Babylon, but he don't stay here. He has different U.S. embassies and consulates all throughout the world. His military is stretched thin, just like the ancient Roman military got stretched thin. They're showing you that this is Rome all over again. His appetite is as large as Sheol, which means the grave, you know, and he is like death, never satisfied with like the grave, you know. The grave ain't never satisfied, but that's Esau's appetite. You know, he gathers to himself all nations and collects to himself all peoples as if he owned them, and that's his ultimate agenda is to own them through the rights device. You know, and they call Babylon the melting pot. But now that a lot of these nations that were over here, they're starting to see that there's no future for this place. So they reverse migrate. You know, will all these victims of his greed not take up a taunting song against him and in mocking derision against him, say, "Woe! Judgment is coming to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long will he possess it?" Right? And woe to him who makes himself wealthy with loans, and that's what Esau has done. Okay? Will your creditors not rise up suddenly to other nations? They've been buying up, parts of Babylon, like a lot of the farmland is owned by China, you know? And those who collect from you awaken, then you will become plunder for them, right? It's gonna be a place gonna be invaded with foreign troops, right? Because you, king of Babylon, have looted many nations. All peoples who are left will loot you because of human bloodshed and for the violence done to the land, to the city and all its inhabitants. Woe! Judgment is coming to him who obtains wicked gain for his house and thinks by doing so to set his nest on high. That's Esau with the Space Force and all that. All right. And jump down to 12. Woe, judgment is coming to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by violence. And that's how this place was founded, right? Bloodshed and violence. And the only way to cleanse the land, according to our law, is with Esau's blood, you know? That's the Lord say I had to sacrifice in Bosra, you know?
46,000 people die every year for gun violence. Not a fucking thing from you pro-life people. But Charlie Kirk
And all those shooters be Edomites, man. Don't be Jake doing that shit. You know, if Jake, if there's a shooting, it's so-called black on black crime in the hood. It's not Jake going to school or a church or something like that. It's always a fucking Edomite, you know.
Caster, oh, it's the Great Awakening. You are what's wrong with this country. You're selfish. You're racist. You're white supremacist. You're misogynist. You voted for a clan leader that is an adjudicated rapist. He fucking raped women, and you're like, hey.
That's Nero. You look up the history of Nero, you know, he he was a sicko, you know. I believe I think he offed his wife. Then he found the boy that looked like his wife, cut the boy's rod off, and made the boy his wife. So that's the spirit of Esau. That's why I say he's a vessel unto dishonor. You know,
No one's perfect. Would you vote for Hitler? Hey, no one's perfect. I like his tax plan. Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein's done some bad things, but I think, you know what? I don't vote for the man. I vote for the policy. No tax on tips. No one's perfect. Praise Jesus. You have no morality. and you just want white America. Until we deal with this problem, nothing will change. And the reason it hasn't is because people that look like me are still right now hiding behind your privilege. And last week, you saw those people, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, your high school people that you don't talk to, they scurried out like a bunch of fucking cockroaches. Oh, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, podcaster. Nothing, not a goddamn thing about anything else that this guy's done. Not the
With Esau being a devil, and I speak as a man, but with Esau being a devil, stuff that he shows you on TV, you can't really trust it, man. It's AI, is deep fake, and his whole MO is to deceive, and I believe they had it where, a guy with a similar name got taken out like that in the movie. So that's predictive programming. There's tons of information coming out, man. you know.
not the insurrection, not the felonies, not asking for black people to be executed in New York, not the white supremacy, not insulting women, calling them ugly, not a goddamn thing. But the white podcaster, somehow, that's a bridge too far, and I'm just going to have to correct you. That is why we're here. They were fine with everybody else getting treated like crap. But until something touched their white privilege, then they cared. They're not Christians. They're not people of faith. They're modern day Pharisees.
And you Esau, you Edomites, man, you're getting ready to lose everything. Okay? Literally, you're getting ready to lose everything. And yourself is getting ready to be taken into captivity. This is Revelation 13, verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Now that's simple and plain, but a Christian would say you're taking it out of context. It says what it says. You just mad that we're reading. Read it again. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Esau led Jacob into captivity. Jacob has to lead Esau into captivity, right? He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. The saints are Israelites. You can't just jump up and down and scream you're a saint. The saints are saints by blood of the Israelite lineage. You know, this is yeah, this is Psalms 50 and verse 5. Gather my saints together unto me, the Israelites. That's happening right now, starting with the elect. Those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. That wasn't the Egyptians. And you go back into the you know, Exodus with Moses. All right. The Lord drowned them in the Red Sea. All right. It wasn't the Edomites. They wouldn't let us pass through their land, even though Moses offered to pay them. Moab tried to put a curse on us. So that doesn't involve no other nation. So how the Gentiles, how do they fit in the Gentiles? You know, they don't. The Lord said he doesn't change it, you know?
Who are the remnants of the lost cause. And does that point in time is where we failed as a country. Robert E. Lee was a piece of shit slave owner. May he rot in hell. But to them, the lost cause, oh, it was about states' rights. No, it wasn't. Mississippi said, we want to keep slavery because the black man, in their words, the Negro, are the only people that can work in the tropical sun. And it will be detrimental to the commerce of the states if it's done. So basically, their stance was God made black people to serve the white man. Does that sound like a states' rights issue? Does it? But instead of accepting it, you guys lied to yourself. And then once again, 2020, no, it was rigged. Did you see Martin Luther King go to violence? Rosa Parks, John Lewis? But the white man lost an election and they believe the lie, so they get away with beating officers with American flagpoles. They're patriots, but if you kneel before a flag peacefully, you're a son of a bitch. Funny how that works. Make America white again. Until we deal with this, we will never get out of this.
That's what they want to do. Hmm. Okay, but it's not going to happen. They're not procreating how the Israelites are, especially the Northern Kingdom. You know,
If it
I
has to
saw, I think it
burn
was
to the
on
ground,
Russia Today. They did a report on Gad, the Native Americans, how Esau did them, and at the end of the video, it said that I think it was by 2050 or something crazy like that. Was Lord willing, we're not going to be here that long. Esau, he don't got much time, and they know it. But anyway, they're projecting that the natives would outnumber everybody. That's just one tribe. You also got Reuben, Seminole Indians. They were talking about the North American Indians, the natives. You know, in the northern tribe, the Southern Kingdom is only three tribes. The rest of the tribes are the Northern Kingdom, right? Which we would call so-called Spanish-speaking tribes. You know, but of course, you got Native Americans, Seminole Indians, and a lot of them are classified as Negro, and a lot of them are walking around thinking that they're black. You know, but you also have the Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Cubans, Dominicans, Brazilians, and a lot of them speak Spanish. Those Northern Kingdom alone would outnumber Esau. So he has to do something, man. He's no way he can make this place great again. All right, which is code word of him. All right, having us in slavery, having his foot on our necks. It's just a wrap. Your time is up.
so be it. Because this is why we're here. This is the only reason we're here. And if you want to go back to the economics part, that's cool. But go look at the Hurricane Katrina documentary. You know what happened? Certain parts, when they were rebuilt after the flooding, they were primarily black. You know what happened? The white man raised the rent by 2 and 3 times. What do you think happened to those black communities? Oh, yeah, I'll let you know. Spoiler alert, it turned to a white community. Why?
It's called gentrification, which Jake pretty much took over New Orleans. That's the tribe of Levi, Reuben, all right, so-called Creoles, right? Which that's Levi. And you got a lot of natives down there, Reuben, Gad, all right? Uh, Benjamin, so-called Jamaican, Issachar, you know. There's Judah too, but predominantly it's Levi and Reuben down there, you know.
Because they didn't want to pay black people a fair wage. So when you say, I don't have privilege, fuck off. Have you had to give a talk to your kid? Have you had your house redlined? Was your house valued more? Were you called the N word? Did you had to give your kid the talk? Then fuck off with your white privilege. Just because you're poor doesn't mean you don't have privilege. It means that you're treated differently than everybody else. That's
All right, and I'll get one more precept and I'll end it, you know. It's Isaiah 14, the Amplified Bible. For the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, will have compassion on Jacob, captives in Babylon. That applies to Babylon the Great now. And will again choose Israel and will set them in their own land. Foreigners, Gentiles, will join them, okay? And the Gentiles here are also Israelites, all right? The Gentiles here are also Jacob, right? And will attach themselves to the house of Jacob, Israel. The peoples will take them along and bring them to their own place, Israel. And the house of Israel possessed them as an inheritance in the land of the Lord, as male and female servants. And they will take them, and they will take captive those whose captive they have been, and they will rule over their former oppressors. So that's our future, man. Right? That's what's coming for the Israelites. We might be catching hell suffering right now. Our punishment's almost up. Second Ezra 6 and 7, Good News Translation, one more time. 6 and 8. He answered, the interval than will be no longer than that between Abraham and Abraham. He was the grandfather of both Jacob and Esau. And when they were born, Jacob was holding Esau's heel, right? Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of the new age. So under the new age, we're going to be the ones ruling, you know? Under the new age, Babylon's going to be destroyed, and you Edomites are going into captivity. Back in Isaiah 14, amplified. And it will be in a day when the Lord gives you rest from your pain and your turmoil and from the harsh service in which you have been enslaved, that you would take up this taunt against the king of Babylon and say, how the oppressor has ceased, and the fury has ceased. The Lord had broken the staff of the wicked, the scepter of the tyrant, the rulers. Okay, with that, I'm going to end it. Our Lord willing, this has been an edifying lesson. I want to give all praise and honor glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Berkah Kodas. Shalom to all.